decades since this castaway found fame in the role of Ginger. These days, Manhattan is her fantasy island, and children's books are her passion. Tina Louise is up next on Encore from Times Square. Tina Louise has acted in many films and theater productions, and she's the author of 2 books. But we still know her best as Ginger from the 1960s series Gilligan's Island. Tina, thanks for being with us today. We very much appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Early on in your life, you were a chorus girl, you were a model, you were a debutante. And in the latter part of your life, you spent a lot of time trying to live that down to do more serious things, didn't you?
Well, you know, I always did serious things along the way. They just, you know, weren't paid that much attention to. My first film was God's Little Acre, was in the Venice Film Festival. So that it was just something about that one part that just struck people, and they enjoy the fantasy, I guess.
Do you think it might have been your great beauty?
I think it was a combination of things, the way I chose to play it. You know, I was asked actually to play it that way. I was asked, can I play a Marilyn Monroe, Lucille Ball type of character? And I thought it would work. When I got there, the director, strangely enough, tried to make it more of an Eve Arden type of a part. And I didn't think it would work that way. And it proved to be right, me.
Let's talk about your childhood, and you've written a book about your childhood called Sunday.
Right.
And I thought that's a strange name for a book. Then, of course, when I read it, I understood why. Let's get to that by talking about your childhood.
Well, I was working on a film, Nightmare in Badham County, and I was in Mississippi. And just now on the news, there was a dreadful story of a young man who was retarded, who died in, you know, one of those prisons. I'm not quite sure if it was the one I visited, but I was allowed inside, and it was under government surveillance at the time. And when I got inside, I really started reflecting back on my childhood in a very severe way. And all of a sudden I said, you know, I was in prison once. And that was because I was in this little girl's boarding school when I was 6, 7, and 8. And it just got me thinking about, you know, my childhood, and I just thought that
there wasn't much communication, was there, with your parents? You saw them on Sunday, and that was the...
Well, on occasion, but I don't remember seeing them very often there. It was sort of like I was on my own. It was a very unusual childhood, so I created sort of a diary of my movement, because I would live with strangers, and then I would live with a cousin, and then I was in the boarding school, and then I lived, when the book ends, I lived with my dad for a couple of years, and then I lived with my mother for a couple of years, and then I went to another boarding school for high school, which I rather enjoyed. You know, I can't say I didn't enjoy the trip. I mean, it was... But there is still, I think, a deep loneliness. I think children sort of need to be loved by at least one person consistently.
Your mother remarried. She married a wealthy doctor, and you became quite a debutante and a socialite there. Were you the Paris Hilton of the time?
Not at all. Not really, no, because at the same time I did that, I had been doing, my first summer stock was with Lucille Ortel in Westport, Connecticut. And there I was spotted by some producers who were doing a review. And so I was on Broadway in the chorus, and I made my debut.
The millionaire chorus girl,
I
they
was
called
in
you.
the chorus, yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I was the only one who, when she walked out on stage, you know, took this tremendous bow and really enjoyed it, because I was 18 and I was, you know, in a show. And I knew how to handle myself, and I had a good time. As I say, I came out and then I went in again. You know, so it was a momentary thing for me. I wasn't into the society thing really at all.
How did you get Tina Louise?
Oh, my drama teacher in high school. I didn't have a middle name when I graduated, and I said, Mr. Somm, I'm the only one who doesn't have a middle name. And he said, well, you'll be Tina Louise. And that's how, and then when I went into show business, I said, well, that's it. You know, I don't know how it's going to work out, but I'm going to be just, you know, Tina Louise. I thought, I'll try that.
You were married to talk show host Les Crane.
Yes.
And you all had have a daughter, Caprice.
I have a wonderful daughter, Caprice, who is writing, who's a wonderful, wonderful writer. Her first book was published last year. It's Stupid and Contagious. And her second book is coming out this August. It's called Forget About It.
Wonderful. You must be very proud.
I am very proud, yes.
Our guest today on Encore is Tina Louise. And stay with us, because when we come back from the break, we're going to take a trip to Gilligan's Island. Our guest today on Encore is Tina Louise. Tina, you starred, of course, in Gilligan's Island from 1964 to 1967. You were Ginger. You like it or not, everybody says that's Tina Louise, that's Ginger, that's the show we loved. It's become an icon in American culture. Is that good or bad for you?
Oh, I'm very grateful, especially working in the public school system, as I have been for the last 11 years. And having this, you know, book being published this year, which is, you know, very meaningful to me, because I have so many friends, and I'm grateful. And this is, you know, my book is a family book, and Gilligan's Island is a family show, and I guess I have friends all over in many countries from it, and I think I appreciate it, you know, at this moment, probably more than ever.
Did you model Ginger after somebody, after Marilyn Monroe? That's what people
Well,
think,
I was
maybe.
asked really to, I was in Fade Out, Fade In with Carol Burnett on Broadway.
Yes.
And Ethel Weinert was the casting director from CBS, and she said, well, we're doing this new show and it's going to be on Saturday at 8:30. Do you think, you know, you could play a Marilyn Monroe, Lucille Ball type of character?
Because you played an actress, Ginger. back.
Because we have already shot the pilot. You know, they're not satisfied with the person, and do you think you could do that? And I said, yes, you know, might be a lot of fun. It sounded kind of fun. And a friend of mine said he thought it would only last 6 months, and I had been working with Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio, and it wasn't what I had in mind at the time, but obviously it's become a monument.
It has. Did you at the time have any idea that
No.
this is going to really catch on?
I had a
and
lot
people
of
are gonna look?
fun. You know, as long as I was playing it the way I wanted to play it, I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed my character, and I loved flirting with Gilligan and everybody else that I flirted with. You know, I had a lot of fun.
What was it like working with Bob Denver
Wonderful,
and
because he
Alan
was
Hale?
so shy. His character was the way he played it, so shy and
Yeah.
fun and sweet, and I just really enjoyed very much, you know, working with him.
There have been several reunions, and it's been conspicuous. You have been conspicuous by your absence at the Gilligan's Island. What's that about?
Well, you know, because immediately right after, I'm trying to think. I went. Well, first of all, I gave birth to my child. You know, and
That's a pretty good reason to be busy, I think.
I mean, I was busy and overwhelmed with the joy of, you know, my baby. You know, my wonderful, healthy.
So it wasn't any feeling that you'd like to put that kind of behind you?
No, I really wanted to spend time with my child, and then when I did go back to work, I really wanted to get back to what I was preparing to do, because I'd been studying with Lee. I'd taken off a year from working, and I became a member. They asked me to try out. I didn't even want to do that. I just wanted to study with him. But Paula, his wife, insisted. So then I became a member, you know, and I just wanted to live up to the expectation. You know, I wanted to get back to my dramatic work, and I did. You know, I immediately started doing movies of the week and film, and, you know, The Stepford Wives, I think, was around that time. And so I was commanding, very frankly, I was commanding a certain wage, you know, and as you know, we didn't get paid very much at the time that I did Gilligan's, and there are no residuals. So one expected...
There are no residuals?
No, so what I expected was, you know, certainly if they were going to do a movie, you know, as time went on, they kept asking, they would, you know, pay accordingly. But that never was the case, and there wasn't a lack of work for me. There was lots of things to do. I thought it would have been fun to do it, but I thought that the producers were being unfair, you know.
Aren't you amazed, here we are in 2007, that people still remember Gilligan's Island and that sort? What about the kids that you see in school?
Yeah, they know, you know.
How do they know?
Well, first of all, they know me. I don't count which it is, whether they know me from that. But now they know that I wrote a book, you know, and they're all, you know, there were posters up in my school, and they just know me, you know. And there was a cute little incident where I went into Miss Rock's class, the science teacher, one day, and I wanted to ask her a question, you know, in preparation for the book. And we started talking, and the children, you know, they started making some noise. And she said, "Do you know who this is? I mean, do you know who this is?" And one little child, you know, raised her hand. "I know who it is, Miss Rock." "Who is it?" "That's Jeremy's reading partner."
Oh, that's
and
nice.
I loved it. I just really, I just love that, you know, because I'm proud of what I've been doing, and I love helping children, you know, to learn to read that need the help. I just love it.
It doesn't help with reading.
Passionate.
Have you ever thought of maybe bringing in a film or a video and letting them see you in those days?
Well, actually, Maurice Dubois did come into the school. He did. He had a Saturday night show, and he did. He's the only
reporter.
one. Yes, from CBS. Yeah, he came into the school and interviewed the teachers. Interviewed me working with the children. Interviewed the children. Yeah, he had a show. I think it was called Four Corners, and he took people that were, you know, doing something worthwhile in society, and so, you know, I don't really think about whether the children know me from that or whatever.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
No, because I'm really passionate about what I'm doing now, which is working with them.
And we want to talk about that and talk about your latest book when we come back with Tina Louise. Please stay with us.
Are you constantly searching for a sharp knife that can cut? Well, now there's...
Welcome back to Encore. Our guest today is Tina Louise. Tina, you have written a wonderful children's book, When I Grow Up. I got a copy of it a few days ago and went through it. I thought it was fun and good. Where did the idea for this come from?
Well, it came from working in the public school system, working with the children. I started working with the children in 1995, and around 1998 I was working with Jeremy, who was a young child who had come from the Congo, who spoke French when I got him, and had to learn English and how to read in 1 year, and he did. And one day I said to Jeremy, "Jeremy, what would you like to be when you grow up?" And he looked at me. He says, "I don't know." I said, "Well, you think you could tell me 3 things?" "Oh, yes, I could do that." So I walked him back to class, and I said to the teacher, "Hey, do you think you could ask all the children to write down 3 things that they'd like to be when they grow up?" And she said, "Sure." And they all did it, and I took all the scraps of paper home. And in working with the kids, I saw how they love animals. And I went to the library, and lo and behold, I found out that, you know, the animals could do these amazing things, and I sort of put it together, what the animal could do and what the child could become. For instance, if a spider can build a beautiful web, when I grow up, I can be an architect, and so forth and so on. And that's how it came to be.
And that was the genesis for the book?
Yeah.
That is great. A number of people, prominent people like yourself, there's Madonna, even Governor Cuomo wrote a children's book. Katie Couric wrote one. A number of people have done that. But yours comes from a rather vast, though, area of experience with kids. Since what, 95?
Yeah, I started working in the public school system. I'm part of Learning Leaders. It's an organization. We were New York School Volunteers then. And you take a 4-week course. And when they find out that you can read and write, they send you into a school that's 20 blocks uptown or downtown from where you live or work. And when I walked into the school in 1995, I just fell in love. I fell in love with where I was and what I was doing, and I just have been doing it ever since. I just love empowering a child and helping a child to read.
Tina, it's amazing to me that you need training to read to people. Most people think, oh, just pick up a book and say, sit down, kid, we're going to read.
Well, actually, I sort of figured out, my own method. I think everybody figures out their own method. There are certain things that they tell you. I don't really remember. It's been a while back. But I break the word down into syllables, and I just found my own, method to work with the child to help them to understand,
Did you read to Caprice when she was a
yes.
young girl?
Oh, yes. I loved, reading to Caprice. And I guess part of it is, nobody ever read to me, and I just adored everything with her. Every experience with her was sort of like we were having childhood together. I mean, I was the grown-up, I was the mama. But I just loved, reading to her.
Are you still interested in politics? I thought it was fascinating in doing the research for the interview today. And you were a supporter of Adlai Stevenson.
Oh yeah,
for
I'm
president.
into it. I watched the the YouTube thing last night, which I thought was
the other night, right?
Oh, that was really great. That was really great. I thought that the candidates were more relaxed than ever, and
there was some humor there in that debate.
That was really
then.
Fun.
Yeah. So are you active in politics now in any way?
Well, I'm just I pay attention. I'm trying to figure it all out and who. Well, it's going to be interesting just to see who the candidate is, but I'm paying, rapt attention to see if I agree with whoever is chosen and who the running mate is going to be. And,
What's your primary issues? The war in Iraq? Is it schools, healthcare, all of the above?
I really want to get PE, back into the public school system. I think it's really awful that they've taken it out. There is a state senator in Kentucky, Kathy Stein, just got it into Kentucky in the fall. The children are going to be having 30 minutes of exercise every day. And Newsweek did a story. The Harvard Medical School has found out that if you give children 30 minutes of exercise every day, their math and their reading scores go up. And from 3rd grade to 5th grade, children are really becoming unmanageable. And I don't blame them. They just need exercise. They're just so full of energy.
That seems to be the first thing that is cut when finances get tight.
I don't understand it. They complain about kids being fat. It stands to reason. If they're sitting in one place every day, and they're having bad food, they're going to be overweight and they can't think straight. They just.
You have so many interests now, and your new book, which you're very proud of, and rightfully so, and reading in school and so forth. You're interested in politics, but with a really nice, choice, fun role came by now, would you like to
of course I
get
would.
back into that?
Sure. I don't have an agent. I don't really think about it. I'm a member of the Academy and I see all the great films and I love them, but I have no interest in doing something that is not interesting to me,
What type things would interest you?
Probably a mother and child situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. What about, we talked about a little bit about politics and so forth. Are there some things that you'd really like to do that you haven't done? Not necessarily theatrics or film or television, but something in life that you'd like to do?
Well, I want to help to get phys ed back into the public school. I mean, that would just be part of that. I'm not.
How do you go about getting that done? Do you call a congressman, or do you carry a placard around? What do you do?
I've been told that we're going to get a group together and go on CNN. Governor Richardson seems to be interested in that. He mentioned that last night.
Governor of New Mexico, right?
Yes, he mentioned that, so that's exciting. And then perhaps the state senator from Kentucky will come down, and who knows, maybe Hillary Clinton, and we'll talk about that. I certainly would give my opinion, working in the school system, but I think it's up to the senators to do that. Each state senator has to do it in their own state, unless it becomes federal.
You talking about exercise? You work out every day, don't you?
Pretty much.
Pretty much every day. It shows. It shows. It really does.
Yeah, I believe in it. It's really makes me feel good.
Do you have a routine? You go in the morning, or what do you do?
Yeah, I go around 12. Depends on what the day is. It just works. I go whatever time it works out. Whatever I'm going to do. Or
yeah.
But usually I go early. I prefer to go early than late.
You're right. Okay. Tina Louise is our guest today on Encore. And coming up after we take a break now, the big question, the question we asked all our guests, what they have learned about life. And we'll hear from Tina right after the break. Tina Louise on Encore. And now, Tina, it's time for our final question. I want to tell you where I got this question. I, as a reporter at the White House, covered President Clinton, and he used to, on New Year's Eve and the days before it and afterwards, go to something called Renaissance Weekend down in Hilton Head, South Carolina. And one time I was one of the reporters in the room when he went to a session, and the question was, of all you people, as the President of the United States, and all you important people have done so much in lives, but what's the real meaning that you have taken from life? What are the things, of all the people you've met, of all the places you've been, what have you learned about life? What have you learned, Tina?
I think the most important thing is to serve somebody else, to serve somebody else's needs. And that's why working with the children means so much to me. But I really think that this is something that really should be taught. I've addressed some teenagers, young people that want to be in the theater, in the movies, etc. And I've said, you must concern yourself with somebody else. You must find some other group of people to help. You can't just think about who you want to become. I think service is really the most important thing. Rick Warren wrote a book, A Purpose-Driven Life, and he says, it's not about you. It's really about the other guy. How can you help the other guy? And there's just a multitude of ways in the course of a day that you could help somebody else. I think people have aches and pains and so many things wrong, and I think so many aches and pains would go away if they were really serving somebody else's needs. And I think that's the most important thing.
Tina, as you look back, do you have any regrets about anything? Something you'd like to have done differently?
I have no regrets. No, I think I've been very fortunate. I've been very, very fortunate.
Well, you've had a great life and many good
Having
years
a great
to come.
life.
Indeed you are. Tina Louise, thanks so much for being with us today on Encore.
Me.
We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that's it for today. We'll see you next time. I'm John Palmer for Encore.